learn some basic cooking skills, go over just some basic health kind of things. That's a class that's important for our kids to become productive, in society, and help take care of younger siblings, because mom and dad are working, or mom might be a single mom, or dad might be a single dad, and they have to help with siblings. It's just something that's good for our kids. We have 3 phys ed teachers, and I know as you look at this, you think, why does the middle school, they have the smallest student population, but they have 3 phys ed teachers? And I wanted to take this opportunity to explain that. We're a middle school. We've got kids that are going through adolescence. We have kids whose bodies are changing. One of our phys ed teachers at the middle school teaches 4 classes related to health and to students developing. In 7th grade, they get a health class. In 8th grade, they get a class called Healthy Living. And in those classes, that's where it kind of helps them understand the changes their body is going through. So you can't think of one of our phys ed teachers as just going in the gym and playing basketball or playing soccer. They're doing those health instruction classes to kids at that age level. When they're 12, 13, 14 years old, they're a whole different kind of kid. And that's why we make sure that we have health classes to help them understand the changes that their bodies are going through. So, when you see that, I just felt that we need to explain that, because we do have a phys ed teacher retiring this year, and hopefully our retirements are going to be replaced as well. And I think it's important to know, I have 2 teachers at the middle school. They are retiring, and they're close to the top of the pay scale. We look at those retirements, that should help fill out some of the gaps in the budget, because you're going to be able to bring somebody on at a lower pay rate. So, you can obviously see we've lost a lot of people in the creative arts department. I'm very lucky. I have a fantastic staff that they have volunteered to teach extra classes, just that I could fill classes. Currently, we are tapped out because we're doing our remediation classes during the day. And I do have, unfortunately, I had to create a study hall, that there are kids that I could not fill with a class because we just don't have enough teachers. So, it is important to know that as well. We've got 8th graders who there was no way that we could fill their schedule simply because we don't have enough staff members. The information that I provided to try and help give justification for the request for a reading specialist. If you notice on that front page, we always had reading specialists. Okay, it's important. And when you look at it, we used to have 2 reading specialists at the middle school. We had a reading specialist, and in the year 2020, we no longer had a reading specialist. The person left our district for Tamaqua and was never replaced. Higher salary, moved to a different district, and we were never able to replace that person.
What's happening with these children now? I mean, this reading specialist was helping children who were falling behind.
That's why I gave the pie charts, to try and show you what is happening with our children.
So they're not getting the help.
They're not getting the extra service that they once did.
I have a question for you. One of the, when the original information was sent by Jack, and I don't remember what building, he said one of them was a Title I reading.
That was
teacher.
Probably the elementary.
Title I reading specialist at the elementary center.
Oh, okay, because I didn't see it up there.
So I'll gladly, answer that question, but for everybody, here's something that no one considers, and this is extremely important. We had a reading specialist who taught reading, who focused on teaching reading skills, who focused on helping kids, on their comprehension. When we no longer had a reading specialist, that had to be combined with our English language arts. So they were still getting some kind of reading instruction, but it fell back on the English language arts teachers in the middle school. And what that means, now we're trying to give half a course of reading combined with English language arts. So we're not able to give full reading instruction, but then for that ELA teacher to teach reading, we've now cut at least 45 days out of their curriculum of English language arts. So it's really, by not having that position, it's a double whammy. The English language arts teacher has to give up some of the curriculum that they would normally teach, plus you're not getting the full course load in reading because now you're compressing it into the English language arts class. So it's important to know that when you're looking at making these tough decisions, you know, it's not just not giving reading, but now in order to give some reading, you've got to give up some of the ELA class as well.
How does that impact their time in the classroom for those specific subjects? So if there was a specialized reading teacher, would that mean they would spend more total time between English and reading? Or just some of that English time would be dedicated to reading with a different instructor?
The way that it would work is our reading specialists were always part of our creative arts team class.
Okay.
So basically, at the middle school right now, we run on a 50-minute period. So every class period is 50 minutes, even over the lunchtime. Lunch is 30 minutes. We built in a 20-minute win period with their homeroom teacher, that they get 20 minutes with the teacher to try and do homework, to ask for help. So everything throughout our day is 50 minutes.
Okay.
So if we were able to get a reading specialist back to really focus on the kids who need it the most, they would get 50 minutes of reading instruction, plus they would get a full period of English language arts.
Okay. And
So
where would that
basically,
50
they
minutes
would
of
be getting
reading?
100 minutes a day.
And that would come from another creative arts class? Like,
Yeah.
there'll be time that they're now
Correct.
spending in another creative arts class?
Correct,
Okay.
It's hard to.
correct. But it would be getting them the things
Right,
that
right,
they.
right. I just want to make sure I understood how
Right.
everything played together.
So the charts that you're looking at is the most recent information from last year's PSSAs. The first pie chart that you look at is our 6th grade, currently our 7th grade. So if you notice, you know, we have quite a few students, 44% are at the proficient level, but then you've got 39% that are at a basic level of reading, well below their grade level. And then the red is showing you the below basic.
Is that what
So-
basic means? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Mhm.
Basic means below your grade level?
Mhm.
In these?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes,
That's interesting when you code something as basic.
I wouldn't have thought that either.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I would have thought basic was at the grade level.
correct.
So when you look at it, anything that's in yellow and red, those are kids that really need that extra help and extra support in reading. If you move on to the next page, it's going to be our 7th grade results. Those are our current 8th graders. So when you see that, you know, that number jumped up, that you have more kids at the basic level. And then our 8th grade, which is currently at the high school, same kind of data, just different percentages. The last pie chart is going to show you the overall averages for the middle school. So last year's PSSA results, you can see really clearly that we had 44% of our kids were at the basic level in reading. The final page is just a sample. We are using the CBT testing, which is basically a diagnostic tool to see exactly where kids are. Ms. Sywell, who is our department chair in ELA, she was willing to provide her sample of what the current reading class. This is not her lowest group. This is an average group of students. So it does not include students who may have an IEP. It doesn't include students that might have a 504 plan for extra support. This is a class of students that is the normal average group without any extras put in there. This was given at the end of the first marking period. The first test normally is given at the start of school year to see how they're coming in. So this test was given after a full marking period of instruction. The goal is to have every student at least at the top of the red line or at the very bottom of the green line. If you see that, most of those numbers unfortunately are way into the red and way below where we need them to be. So for me, I would say my reading specialist and family consumer science, they've got to be like the top 2 for me. Obviously, like I shared, music, I didn't even include it on there because when I met with Ed and Jack, I needed to focus on what's going to help our kids the most. So again, anytime that we have staff you know, the thing that's important, like I said, also, the high school, we share teachers. I share a music teacher with the elementary, so anything is gonna help us out. The only other item that I am requesting is a secretary. I've got one secretary. I have one secretary sitting in guidance, taking care of all the the custody orders, maintaining the student records, taking care of the career artifacts, helping our guidance counselor and social worker for the things that they may need help with. I've only got one secretary and it's overwhelming.
Is that new? Did we lose a secretary?
We
or-
lost the secretary to retirement and was never replaced
When was that?
2 years ago. And, you know, parent phone calls go unanswered. She's approximately 2 months behind on entering discipline into the reports that Lori Fry needs to provide to the state. And she's working her butt off and working overtime, putting in many extra hours every day. It just, one secretary to run a building is just not feasible. Hopefully I've given you the information. Yes, I'm sorry.
Is she a salaried secretary or is she an hourly?
Salary. And I am not asking for a full year secretary. In the paraprofessional and support contract, there's a 10-month secretary.
Well,
Obviously.
I didn't know that. Is it fair if she's doing all this overtime for free or
We're at the point where I got permission from Ed that she can do a couple hours a week just to try and get caught up.
Okay, so that was my point, was if we're paying like an hourly and overtime, it might make more sense to hire somebody to get rid of that overtime hours. That's how I was trying to get your line on that thing.
Yes.
If she's salaried, do we even pay
Well,
overtime?
no, they get paid an hourly rate over the normal workday. They work
Above their ticket.
That's contractual.
All right, then we need to see that.
So then in a sense, we're paying a second person, but basically.
You're paying overtime, yes.
Yeah, so we could pay somebody, so we're not.
People get paid overtime.
Well, that's what I'm asking, like, so we're paying somebody time and a half, we can get a new person for.
And I think the important thing is during the day when parents need to get messages to kids and stuff, it's not, you know, yes, she can get some